Hey, JJ here again with the Art of Value. So yesterday I was going through some so-called super investor portfolios because the quarter the results for the last quarter that they had to file to reveal what their activity is with big funds over 100, I think it's $100 million. They have to fund managers have to file their activity for the previous quarter. And so these last few days, they've been coming in, as you can see on the screen now. If you're on YouTube or on Spotify video, there's a list of super investor portfolio updates for over the last week or so, the last being the 17th of May. And so I like to go through them. Yesterday I went through, I mentioned Warren Buffett and who else? I can't remember now. Um, Anyway, but this time I'm going to keep going through. I haven't necessarily seen what the activity is, so I'm kind of just responding to and seeing what's interesting in there. Oh, David Tepper was the other one yesterday. So Chuck Akre, Akre Capital Management, who has lately there's been quite a lot of us seeing podcasts, and there was a podcast from somebody who worked there, and also people are interested. Kind of famously, he's had more than one 100 bagger, I think two 100 baggers, maybe even coming up on three, I'm not sure. But it's a 21 stocks, so not a huge amount, and it says here in Dataroma nearly $14.5 billion fund. I don't know how accurate that is, but Q122 activity is interesting to see that the 21 stocks, so some of these have been in the portfolio for a long time, being 100 baggers, nearly 15%. MasterCard, I think what happens is there's no rebalancing, or either not much rebalancing, so they just lets the winners run for years and years and years. So MasterCard, Moody's, 13.2%. American Tower, that's been a 100 bagger. I know that's one of them. 12.17% of the portfolio. Visa's 8.05, so MasterCard and Visa in there. And as mentioned yesterday, what I'm most interested in is the small caps and mid caps, because if we talk about 100 baggers, I think he probably agrees, probably knows that to get a 100 bagger, you need to get them early. That book 100 baggers spells that out too, like preferably below $1 billion, but even up to $5 billion. If you think $5 billion and 100 bagger, turns into a big company. It has to be a really big company. So under $1 billion, or realistically, but under $2 billion or something like that. So I'm looking at these for that kind of activity, buying of new smaller companies for the future. And the fund managers that manage a lot of money in the billions don't necessarily buy small companies, because they, even uh, getting a 10% of the company, like with Buffett, for instance, they're not going to, Berkshire's not going to buy companies that are small caps, because they just have to make so many investments. If they've got $100 billion to invest, they're not going to be looking at companies that are like 1 to 5 billion, really. Uh, and so those are the top ones in Chuck Akre's portfolio. And down the bottom, we have I noticed one ThreadUp, which appeared in the portfolio in the last few quarters. I think it's like less than 0%, and it lists them having 22,500 shares still. So they're still with it. ThreadUp being one of those, another kind of marketplace for used clothing, or not recycled, but upcycled clothing. Is that the term? Not really. It's just like a marketplace where they reseller of garments, like Poshmarkers. And I mentioned yesterday there was somebody who had Poshmark. Can't remember who. Might come to that again. So in this small, less than 1%, Dollar Tree, Berkshire Hathaway is 0.04 sort of token gesture there, and they've reduced that. So let's have a look at the activity within that quarter. And what's interesting to me, so they added added to, not new buys, Salesforce, Moody's, CarMax, KKR and Co. And just minimally reduced Alarm.com holdings. So I was interested to see that they had bought that and they've reduced that 50%. So, but one of the things, American Tower 0.15, so there's a little bit of selling there, but just not much really. You do never know why that they might sell that. If I just go back here and try and find where they bought Thread up. Or reduced Thread up 88% back in Q2 2021. So that hasn't been not a huge amount of conviction considering they had a much bigger allocation there and they ditched it. So one thing that doesn't show up on this data roadmap is the international buys. So if they're buying internationally, it won't show up. These are just US buys. But if we look on ticker terminal, ticker.com, what I noticed about last quarter, I think it was, Chuck Akre, who bought some Topicus. So one of their biggest, Canadian company, here we can see I think probably the full allocation internationally. So we've got Mastercard actually at 11%, Moody's at 10% of the portfolio, American Tower at 9%, Visa at 6%, and Constellation Software at 5.7%. So Canadian company, it's been a 100-bagger. I don't know if it's been a 100-bagger for them. I don't know when they bought it. But what interests me is that if we go down smaller is a company called Topicus, which I own. And it went public beginning of last year. So it's had it's lost 50% of its value, and it really did take off while other emerging tech stocks. So this is really, I might make a video about this at some time. Topicus is, I think, Topicus is owned 50% by Constellation Software. It's set up by the same management team. It's a different management team, but it's in Europe. So it's pretty much the same business model as Constellation Software, which as I said, has been a 100-bagger. But they're setting it up for Europe, doing pretty much the same thing in Europe. And it's small. I think it's actually, not that small. I haven't checked the market cap, but I'm going to be looking more at that, especially the latest results, etc. And maybe adding to that. But Akre is 2.52%, which is quite a lot actually, of the fund. And there's Alarm.com. You can see here that they didn't add to Topicus this last quarter by the look of it. Or maybe that's not available to see yet. And Alarm.com, they dropped 51% actually. So that's interesting too. And I've been selling a bit of Berkshire. Anyway, so that's that. On to the next one. I'm going to probably be doing more of these videos because I'm just kind of looking at these sometimes for the first time. This is the way that I do it. I'm just doing it, basically recording my thoughts while doing it. Lilu doesn't seem to have had any activity in the last quarter. I did look on Ticker Terminal and there didn't seem to be anything more. But in Q4 2021, he sold 100% of Pinduoduo, and doesn't seem to have had much activity in the last quarter, unless there's international stocks we don't know of, Chinese stocks don't know. But it appears to be not much activity there, and it shows up just on the US. He's got Micron Technology is 37%. That's not accurate because of Chinese holdings, I would say, but Apple, Meta, Alphabet, so the big dogs, Berkshire, Bank of America, and Micron are the American positions for Lilu. Terry Smith is the other one I wanted to look at. So I think this on Dataroma, this encompasses two funds, the Fund Smith and Smithson, and I'm more interested in Smithson Fund because I should look on Ticker Terminal here too for the full international positions, because this doesn't show them all, but it's still interesting to see that they I think Wingstop, unless they bought Wingstop in Funsmith, that was part of Smithson, which is a small and mid cap. So I'm much more interested in that fund, and because the criteria that they have. If you've heard Terry Smith talking before, they like high returns on capital employed and other metrics that are they're just quality companies, and they hardly ever get cheap. He's not afraid of buying, like at a reasonably high PE. But Wingstop, I noticed that they have added 47%. I did own Wingstop, but I sold it at a profit, not because I don't like the company, although I just had too many stocks. I do want to be more concentrated, and part of the reason was that there's no owner operator running the business, which, if I'm choosing between this and that quality companies, that would be one of the criteria that I like to see as owner operators, and it doesn't like it. But I just think, but they obviously still like it. Funsmith likes it, and so there's not a lot of Adobe. They've been buying a little bit. Obviously, with the tech drawdown the last quarter, they have been buying. Probably picked up Adobe because it dropped, and it's I know that Terry Smith kind of admired Adobe. And a few other nothing nuts to mention. There's been a lot of sales actually, a lot of sales. I wonder if the funds people have been pulling out of the fund, that maybe that could account for it, rather than them ditching like Home Depot, Alphabet 9%, VeriSign. It's hard to see why they'd sell these, but Rollins minus 12.9%. Visa reduced by 18%. Estee Lauder at 9%. I've heard him rave about all these companies on various interviews. Meta down 20%, PayPal down 20%. So they've knocked Nike even down 23%. So yeah, I don't know. We don't know the reason they're selling. I think we'd have to wait till what he says, but interesting nonetheless. Okay, I think that's all for today. I just want to keep this short. We're up to 12 minutes already, so I'm going to keep doing this periodically. I don't know if the next one will be the same. It might be, but I find these interesting to look at for reasons of not copying, but just there are tens of thousands of stocks in the world. So if great investors are buying certain things, it's good to see what they've been buying, and it's just interesting to see. You do find, as I said, I'm more into this to smaller stocks. So you do find the odd one or two in mid caps to sort of follow up research on at time of choosing. All right, so if you like this, like and subscribe if you found value, and remember, video is on YouTube and Spotify, video and audio elsewhere, and on Twitter at The Art of Value. Okay, see you next time.